Pretty much killed this crowd talking about marriage. There's a big crowd the first week. No. I don't know what to make of that. We're on? Good, welcome. We're glad that you're all here. And when I started planning this to speak about marriage, I knew that at some point in these 5 weeks I was going to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. And it is something that is really, really, really close to my heart. I think if I were to list off the things that for me are the most important things that I could ever pass on, especially to a younger generation, but really just for anybody, what I'm going to pass on today would be right at the very top. So I'm glad that you are here to listen. I hope it will be helpful in one way or the other. When I look back over the course of 46 years of marriage, I want to make it really clear. I don't think that anything that Wanda and I have done for 46 years is all that special. Okay? We don't deserve an award. We don't deserve anything. We got married and we trusted that God would help us stay married and have a good marriage. That's about all that we did. Along the way, we studied and read and took it seriously and all of those other kinds of things. But I hope that you don't think for a second that I'm standing up here acting like I've got it all together, or that we figured it all out, or that our marriage is some kind of model for other people to follow. I don't believe that for a second. We are two unique individuals that figured out how to be married to each other. I'm not sure we could be married to anybody else.
That's good.
But yeah, it's really good, Gary. So understand where that's coming from, where all of this is coming from. I think that more than anything else, when I think about how we have tried to be married, it has been our shared understanding that our marriage was to serve a greater purpose than our own personal happiness. Okay, I'm going to say that again, because that is, without a doubt, it is the overriding principle that we have tried to spend our years living out. We believe that our marriage is supposed to serve a greater purpose than just our own personal happiness. And I don't want you to get me wrong on that. I think that every marriage should be filled, absolutely filled with the greatest and most pleasurable experiences that human beings can have. I think that was something that was kind of woven into the created order, and that God designed us in our marriages to have inexpressible happiness all of the time. I just really believe that. But I don't think that was the purpose for marriage. I think it is to serve something greater. And when you collectively begin to agree that your marriage is supposed to serve something greater, that it is to be a reflection of God's existence. Your marriage is to be an expression of His grace to the world. In other words, how people see you and your spouse interact with each other. They are supposed to go, oh, that's how grace works. It's like the physical manifestation of what God does in our lives every day. People should be able to see in our marriages likewise. That's the greater good. And if you believe that, then you have a reason to work on your marriage. You have a reason to make it be better than what it is. You have a reason to look at your marriage and go, there is way more than just coexisting and growing old or growing stagnant or growing something other than great. If you don't have at the core of your marriage this belief, this inner drive that your marriage can serve and is designed to serve a greater purpose, then the outcome is it just becomes driven by the self-centeredness of pursuing happiness. That you don't have an in-between on this. And when you spend your life with the desire of, I just want to be happy, and you don't make me happy anymore, then you have a problem. You're going down a road where often there is not a return from that. Love is a good thing. Aren't you glad that I would say that? Yeah, you are sitting there feeling, I don't know what you're feeling. I hope this is making sense. Love is a good thing. Love with a purpose is a greater thing. That's what we are pursuing. Wanda and I are incredibly fortunate, and I realize that now. After all of these years together, we got to experience a lot of things that a lot of other people didn't. And so I do believe that I am fortunate in that. At the very beginning of our relationship, we learned to share experiences of caring about the needs of others and how that could unite us. We were 18 years old when we started doing youth ministry, when we started living for the good of kids that were in our church. And it fueled the things that we did together. We read books together. We went on retreats and camps together. Before we were ever married, we packed up and we went and lived at a Christian camp in the summer. The first summer after we got married, I mean, like, we get married and we're back home for just a week or so, and we didn't have anywhere to live because we had made the plan to move up in a tent at a camp to spend the summer. And so, yeah, we kind of jumped into the deep end of serving others when we were very young. That's why I say that we are fortunate. But it doesn't have to happen early in your relationship to make serving others the centerpiece of your marriage. It can happen at any point in time. Any point in time it can change. And it can happen right now. So that's kind of the foundation of what I want to say today, and I want to give you some perspectives about that. Over the last 4 decades plus, I have personally seen massive changes in marriage and family life in our culture. There are some of you that have been on earth a long time also, and you know what I'm talking about. 30, 40, 50 years ago, things looked a lot different than they do now. And I would say it is nothing has experienced as much change as marriage and family life in those 50 years here at least in our country. We were both barely 21 in our first year of marriage. That shapes this perspective and this history line that we have been on. We moved away from our motherland, that would be California. We moved away from there 26 years ago. So most of the changes, the big changes in marriage and family life I have witnessed have happened in those 26 years since we moved here to Texas. Texas had nothing to do with those changes. It was happening in the larger part of our culture. But it was in these past 25, 26 years that I've seen so much change. Now I want to say this to you at the beginning today, is to beware of over-personalizing some of these things that I'm going to say. When I give some criticism of culture and of marriage, if the shoe fits, if what I am saying speaks directly to your marriage, you can go, yeah, he got us on that one. If I'm not talking about you, if your marriage is not an example of what I'm going to say, don't personalize it. Don't get uptight about it. I am just talking kind of in some big generalization sometimes. But if the nail hits you, like right between the eyes, then wear it, because others are going to miss the target. I look at what's going on today in our culture, which we are all a part of. I see something totally different than how Wanda and I lived in our 20s and 30s and 40s. Just do. I've seen culture exert its will. Now, I don't know if culture has a will of its own or if people just give it to culture, but I have seen culture exert its will over the hearts and schedules of couples and families in ways that were completely foreign to us when we first got married. That's why I think we all need to be careful that we don't overgeneralize too much. Things are very different now than when we were young. I see couples of all ages. Doesn't matter if they are young or they are my age. I see couples of all ages growing more and more inward and protective of their time, protective of their possessions, protective of their children. I see that as a line of escalation over the last 40, 50 years. Rather than choosing a lifestyle that we want to live, it seems like I listen to story after story after story of those who feel like their lifestyles are being dictated by the demands of their jobs, demands of income, and those two things are being stretched so thin, it's like they are ready to explode. I know that is true because I've had conversations with so many people who come in and go, my life feels like it's going to explode. My schedule is out of control. We don't have enough money. I don't know what to do with my kids. My kids have to be here and there and all over. I don't know what to do. And it takes its toll on our marriages. Here is the path that I see. I'm just going to say that I see the majority of people following these days. Most people will work hard, get up early, stay late, put up with high, even unrealistic demands and uncomfortable situations at their jobs and in their social circles, as long as it nets a paycheck or directly benefits their home and family in some way. There are many who are trapped in that. It's like, I can't quit my job, because if I quit my job, it's going to make it much worse on my family and on my marriage, so I'll just keep doing this, but I don't like it. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like what my boss or my company is making me do, but we do it to provide. That is a noble thing to do. But don't make the mistake of believing that it is not taking a toll on your marriage and on your family. That's what happens. Another thing that as time goes by, I am hearing fewer and fewer and fewer stories of idealism and dreaming and living by faith. Look, we grew up in an era that there was a lot of dreaming and a lot of idealism back in the 60s that netted not much. Okay? But we did a lot of dreaming about what we could do with our lives, what kind of impact we could make on the world before God chose to take us home. We, as a young couple, we talked about those things all the time. We would talk about how we could change the way we were living so that our lives would have a greater impact on the world. We talked about where we could move and what we could do. I remember when we made the decision and at that point we were still a young couple. Is 35 a young couple? Do we all agree that 35 is still young couplehood? Well, we do, I guess. If you're 35, you probably think you're 1 foot in the grave now or something. I don't know. We were 35 years old, and we just made this decision, looking at our situation, that said we could make a greater impact on our world, and so we quit what we were doing, moved from where we lived, and moved somewhere else, and started an entirely different new chapter in our life of working down in Mexico and in San Diego, and some of the things that we were doing at that time. And people looked at us. This was it's nearly 40 years ago. Our friends in our church, our friends in our network of people looked at us and said, you guys are crazy for doing this. Why would you ever do this? Why would you walk away from a really good paying job? Why would you walk away from living in a community that the rest of the world dies to try to get to live in that neighborhood where we live? Why would you walk away from that? Again, that's why I started off today by saying I don't think we're heroes. We didn't do anything great, okay? But I will tell you, we caught the wrath of our friends. We caught the wrath of our leaders who were around us and said, have you lost your minds? And all I could say to them was, no, I think I finally found it. I think I lost it here over the last 10 years in what I was doing. And it was time for us to find it again. What we found again was some youthful idealism. We believed that our lives could make a difference, a bigger difference than where they were. And so we dove off the deep end and we did that. Here's why I say that. I look around anymore and I see very, very little idealism and dreaming and living by faith. People go, I could never do anything like that. Well, why not? Maybe you don't have to do that, but why couldn't you do something else? Well, man, have you seen my mortgage? Yeah. Pretty sure I know what your mortgage looks like. And then I end up having the audacity to say to people every now and then, I go, you trust God or not? You always call in the God chip. That's the response back to me. And I'm just saying, no, I think we've lost something along the way. This great idealism of the kingdom that we can be part of. Now, with that said, my heart absolutely goes out to young couples and young families today. Again, I think it is way harder now than it was back when we were 21. And you may disagree with me on that. You may say, no, it's been hard for everybody all time, and nothing special about today. It's just those lazy millennials. They just don't want to do anything. Nah, I'm not buying that either. I think it is harder today. Partly because people my generation stopped teaching people of the younger generation that they could dream and that they could actually live by faith. You want to know a funny thing? You can choose to live by faith at any point in your life. As long as you're breathing, you are not out of time. You can always live by faith. And there's a crushing change that happened 2 years ago. Absolutely crushing to marriages and to families, mostly to marriages. And that's because COVID, for all of its other wackiness and all the changes and everything that happened throughout the world because of COVID, I would say that the relational epidemic that happened as a result of COVID has left its mark in even greater ways than the physical toll that COVID has taken. In the last 2 years, it seems as if our own physical houses, that place that you go to at the end of the day, or maybe you've stayed there all day, our houses have become sanctuaries for personal retreat and insulation from the nasty, demanding world that exists outside of our doors. Look, you don't have to nod your head because I know I'm right on this one. I ask people all the time, hey, do you want to get out and get together? No, I don't really want to do that. Why not? Well, with COVID out there, No, I don't think that's the real reason anymore. I think the real reason is that we have created these safe inner sanctuaries around our houses that we just like to stay in. That recliner over the last 2 years, that home gym, the one that you made, in one of the rooms so you could work out, that home office, that new garden you planted, the new tricks that your dog can do now, all of those new meals that you learned to fix, on your new grill outside. It's like, I want to get home to do those things. I don't want to go out. I asked some guys recently, I said, hey, you want to get together? We'll be safe. We don't have to sit in each other's laps or anything at all. You want to get together and go watch some football? Next Monday night out at the sports bar? Go out and watch? Like, get out of my house and go watch? Yeah, get out of your house and go. No. I like watching at home. Thank you. You may think that's not a big deal. I think it is representative of something that's happened internally to so many people. So I just like to go home. Just want to be home. And what's interesting is that all of the home improvement that we have done over the last 2 years has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of relationships that we were supposed to be building inside our home reclamation projects. Seems like it's always about some new thing that we built or a new thing that is happening at our house. I don't hear a lot of people going, hey, can we get together? I want to tell you these amazing things that have happened in our marriage over the last 2 years. This is what we are left with. Now, I think on the positive side, and again, this is generational. This isn't true for us, but I think it is true for younger families, younger marriages. I see a lot of young parents taking their roles of protector and provider really seriously about their own children. See it all over the place. About their health and their well-being, their education, their extracurricular activities that are being monitored and well chosen, and the things that we want our kids to get involved in. I see a much more serious outlook on that. But that is always one step away from parents bowing at the altar of their children. It doesn't take much to get to that spot. And that's when life is allowed to revolve around our kids. When parents sacrifice everything for their own kids' personality development, or athletic pursuits, or educational one-upsmanship, so they can get in line to get that scholarship or that invite to that next school that they want to go to. Parents who sacrifice for their kids' happiness and education and experience and schedule to the exclusion of building community with people outside the walls of their own family. How does this all come back at marriage? Well, I think it hits marriage right square in the face if we take it seriously. And that's because I think that we have lost sight of the bigger pictures as followers of Jesus. The kingdom commands that we hear again and again, the command for genuine, selfless service to others, the cry for deep, transparent, challenging friendships, the value of living in the midst of a village of people, a village of faith for our children to have and to grow up in. It just seems like these are pearls that have slowly lost their value. I talked with a couple of families this week, and they told me of all of the things that they are doing with their child in the context of their own home. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be great if your kid could come and be part of our youth group? Wouldn't it be great if your kid could come up and join, just come to the Halloween thing that we're doing and bring some friends from around the neighborhood? Oh, no, they've got enough. You know, we've got this going on and this going on here in our house, and we're doing these things, and that's just a little too much. And all that happened to me in that moment is that it just broke my heart. Because the village of faith is an integral part of childhood development and of marriage development. I think it is possible for a couple to, I think it is very possible for a couple to just go off the grid. You ever read about those people? Both of them, they just quit their jobs, empty their bank account, and get on a boat and float around the globe. Does that sound appealing to anybody here? No, you can't leave your kids with me. Does that, yeah, it's very romantic and it's very whimsical to think about doing that. Can you come out of that year-long experience where it's just the two of you on a boat and still be happily married and growing? Yeah, I really think it is possible. But I think the more logical approach, the one that to me seems more biblical, is that we would live out our marriages in the midst of a larger community of people who reflect the same values and challenge us along the way. When you get in a boat and float around the earth, or some form of that isolation, there isn't anybody speaking anything to you. Do you know that you all have friends, you all have family who are hurting, marriages that are hurting because they are isolated and nobody really knows what's going on behind their closed doors? We all have friends that are like that. Their isolation hasn't netted them much. But when you choose to live your life and live your marriage out in front of people, as awkward and as hard as that is sometimes, I feel like that's your best shot. That's your best chance of having a great marriage, a great union, is where you do things together with other people. Look, it is really easy to throw stones. I do it really well. I get more opportunities to do it than most people do. It's a lot harder to provide light for the journey. So I want to give you 3 suggestions of what you could do for your marriage right now, if you want it to be better than what it already is. Your choice. And you are not going to like any one of the 3 of them. Okay? I'm just going to tell you right up front. You're going to go, oh, really? That's what you're going to suggest? Yep. Because it's the best I've got. First thing, you personally, not you as a couple, you personally, find a person or a group of people outside of your immediate family that needs what you have to offer. Difficult? Maybe. Find a person or a group of people outside of your immediate family that needs your talent, your gifts, your passion, your love, your service, and make a commitment to those people for the good of the kingdom. Don't make a commitment to those people for the good of your career. For crying out loud, you can do that in other places. I am talking about the kingdom. Find some people, some person, somewhere that needs what you are, what you have, and make a commitment to them to be the church for them and in their lives. This is not a plug to help Angela out and getting children's church workers. That is not it at all. It may be nothing more than finding somebody who is beginning to go through what you are going through and just having a Coke or a dinner once a week with that person and sitting down and talking with them. Finding somebody that is lonely. Finding somebody that maybe needs some of your skill as a tradesperson at their house and going, hey, can I come and help you? Can I come and help you do that work at your house, and we can maybe chat up the kingdom a little bit while we're doing this? Can we do this together? Do you have some kind of a talent? Can you... Gosh, I'm going to hit... My list is going to hit every person in here, so you're going to think I'm picking on you. You know, do you know how to do plumbing? Do you know how to do electricity? Do you know how to sing? Do you know how to play the guitar? Do you know how to play the drums? Do you know a little bit about first aid? Do you know a little bit? You catch my drift? Find somebody who needs some of that. And go, I'm going to invest my life in you as a person. I will tell you, if both of you in your marriages begin to do that, you will grow. You will become better. You will become more of what God wants you to be. The way you do this is the part that nobody ever really likes. Make it so that they depend on you. Make it so that if you don't do your part, those people lose. I've always said this to people. Is there somewhere inside of you, it's just somewhere inside of you, that says you want to know the Bible better? Do you have is there a little spark inside of you, any of you? You want to know the Bible better. I have a surefire way for how to do it. I even have an example sitting in this room right now. Mark Rose. Mark leads a Bible study. Sometimes people show up, don't they? Yeah, every once in a while. I needed to give you a shot to say that. You can thank me later. Okay, you want to know who benefits the most by his preparation for leading that Bible study? Hands down, it's Mark. He's learning the Bible in new ways that he never dreamed possible, because he's made the commitment to do his part on behalf of some other people, whether they show up or not. He is studying. The book is becoming alive inside of his life. He is not a hero. He is a guy that said, I'm going to do this. He is now the benefactor. It's happened in my life the whole time. Look, if you want to preach a sermon on a Sunday, come and talk to me. We'll make a spot for you. The greatest benefit of my week of preparation to speak on any given Sunday morning has nothing to do with any of you. It's me. Because I've made the commitment to show up and do this, I get to know the Bible better. I get to know people better. Find somebody and invest in their life. Number 2, we just got a couple more minutes. Find a group of like-minded, like-hearted people and begin to meet with them as a group. You mean I got to get out of my house like one night a week to go do that? Yeah, that's the big part of it. The big part is getting out of your house once a week together with your spouse and going and hanging out with some other people. Find a group. Find an existing group. There are a bunch of groups that meet at North Point. You want to know about them? We'll tell you about them. They're kind of secret sometimes. I don't know. We'll tell you about those groups. Maybe you can go to an existing group. Better yet, if you don't like any of those groups, you kind of take the survey of all the different groups that are at Northpoint and you go, nah. Start your own. Handpick people you like. I don't care. Find some people that are like you, that like to do the things that you like to do. Take your marriage and put it down right in the middle of some other people and live it out. Gosh, if I could take a picture of every face in this room right now, it would be great. That is not a pleasant thought for most people. Well, what night? I'm busy on this and this, and my Netflix thing is on that night. I can't do that one, and you can find some time. You can find some time for your marriage. Start your own group. Meet about something that interests you. Read a book together. Study a topic. Go out to eat. Play on a team. Share a hobby. Meet a need. Just do it together with some people regularly for the good of the kingdom. Again, this is not about your job advancement. This is not about positioning yourself so you can get what they have. Little reciprocal stuff. He's a gardener, I'm a this, maybe he'll cut my trees. No, this is just for the good of relationship. Do it regularly. I think you will be blown away by the change of heart that happens when you live your marriage out around some other people. I still believe that God changes people. That has never changed. Last one. Got 3 minutes. Last one. This is the hardest. Believe me, this is the hardest. You need to practice saying no to your family. That doesn't sound very Christian, does it? I'm just telling you, everybody will be better for the experience if you practice saying a little bit of no to your family. I got a question. The Parkers, you guys went to the Astro game yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you take your family?
No. Oh.
Yes. Good job. Good job.
The son was asking to go. Why does mommy get to go?
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, we said.
Okay. They will browbeat you with guilt. Okay? Practice saying no to your family. Make time to really determine if you want to live a life of selflessness in your marriage. That takes a little time to work out. That could cut into a lot of stuff that you're doing. Some people don't want it. Some people are quite content with being the center of their own world. Can't do much about that. But you can do something about yours. I'm going to give you a side note here. In 40 years of youth ministry, I was always able to, it was always pretty easy to pick out the entitled, overly self-absorbed, inflexible kids in the youth group. They stuck out like a sore thumb. The ones whose mommy and daddies overprotected them. The ones who were pampered. The ones who were micromanaged. You could always tell who they were. They were the kids that seldom, if ever, now listen to this, and this may be talking about your kids, it is certainly talking about one of mine. So it's not, there's enough stones to be thrown around, okay? We're all in this together. They were the kids who didn't like to go on road trips. That's where you could tell where the entitled kids were. Here's where it would happen. I'm driving along in the bus and I would go, hey, it's time to stop for lunch. Where do you guys want to go for lunch? That was always the game that we would play on the bus. And they would yell out where they want to go. And so, kids are going, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Subway, whatever. And there would always be that kid in the group that would go, hey, can we go to Texas Land and Cattle? What? Well, I'll go to Chili's, but nothing below that. No, you can sit in the bus in the McDonald's parking lot. But we always have those kids who didn't want to go there or wouldn't do that and didn't like doing this or that. And they had been pampered along the way. This is a little side bonus. Most of you do this really well. It's your job as parents to teach your kids they're not the center of their own universe or yours. God is at the center of the universe. There's only room for one. And we need to live our lives out that way. Take care of yourself. Buzzy, come up. Our marriages are sacred. The things that we need to be doing to grow really good marriages are sometimes very difficult. So roll up your sleeves. Do some difficult stuff. You'll be all the better for it. Okay? We're going to sing a couple of songs, and those of you that are not staying for our worship service,